Today we are looking at another story that was preparing the issue of communion. And that one was in response to people's cry for food in the wilderness. God provided what they called manna, which meant, what is it? And the answer to God to that question, what is it, was bread raining from heaven. In Exodus chapter 16, bread that fell from heaven every day. And people were instructed on the way to use it. They were to go out and gather it from the ground. So it was brought ready-made almost, because there was no shop, there was no market, there was nothing. And God provided, and it was white, it was tasty, and with the instructions came not only an invitation to go and gather, but also a test of obedience and trust, because God said that they should gather it every day and not gather for the tomorrow, gather for only one day. And those that disobeyed found out that it was rotten when they kept it overnight. So God said, you just gather enough, and it was just enough for them. A seemingly bland meal, but that was perfectly nourishing. So there was a difference between the look and the reality of it. And then it was sufficient to maintain them in perfect health. And it is recorded that there was no lack among them. It was shared with the family by the head of the family, the man, and as much as needed. And God continued providing that for them for 40 years, all the time they were in the wilderness. And it only stopped when they entered Canaan and the produce could be gathered and eaten. And that story of the manna is reminded in different parts of the Word of God. In Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 15, God made it to be recorded that yes, that was bread from heaven at the time. In Psalm 78 verse 24, it was mentioned as angel food because it didn't look like anything on earth. And in John chapter 6 verse 31, Jesus explained that that was just a figure of the real bread from heaven. That was Jesus. And you may not know, but in Judaism, any meal that doesn't contain bread is not regarded as a meal for the purpose of counting. So when God says a meal, it means a meal where there is bread. And it means that bread being the staple food for centuries, it means that we have need for bread and for the bread of heaven. And so I want to invite you to reread those passages and realize that God has always provided. But the provision was not only just for physical food, but a spiritual food, something that would maintain us. And that the food from heaven is not only feeding us, but feeding us spiritually, so we don't lack, we don't feel hunger anymore. But the condition was that, and is that, we have to gather it daily, as much as we need. And so the more we need, the more we gather. And that is still true for us as we open the Word of God today. God bless you.